All right. Welcome to Rookie Geek Gaming. How is everyone doing? I hope fantastic. I hope things are going real well. So today I'm going to talk about crossing the border. Yes, I know people that have actually crossed the Mexican border and come into America illegally. I'm going to keep things anonymous because I think that's important in general. But yeah, definitely real good people. And oh wow, yeah, 25%. Oh, that's fantastic. I think this is the other one. Yeah, really good people. Just kind of came across a couple issues. So yeah, this is a fascinating story. First off, they're not Mexicans. They were actually, well, one was from Pakistan originally. Her family left. I don't know all the history to this one, but there was a Pakistani government revolution. Probably, I have to say it was about 20, 30 years ago or so. And her family left when that occurred. So when that happened, her family up and moved to Pakistan. So, or I'm sorry, up and moved to India. So that's kind of fascinating. And then she. Negative 353. Okay. Oh, this dude's gonna come and attack me. That's what's gonna happen here. Oh, I'm gonna get totally screwed here pretty soon. We'll see how this plays out. Yeah, so her family moved to India when she was young, I think. And then, so she moved to India, met her current husband, spoiler alert, and so grew up in India. Now, India is a fascinating country for a lot of reasons. So it's a massive population. It's a British colony, and so they got a lot of the modern basis for things, but overwhelming population. A religion in general that prevents them from eating beef because cows are a sacred commodity, or like, that's what your ancestors are. So they, there's problems there with general poverty, lack of cleanliness, and one of the things that was always told about India was there's no like emergency response system. So if your house is on fire, you have to hope your neighbors are going to come help you, because there's really no fire department. If you have a heart attack and you call 911, there is no 911 really. So there's very little in the way of emergency response systems, or everything is kind of just I guess a complete. I don't really want to join your war. I guess it doesn't matter. Sure. So there's no like emergency response systems. There's no the infrastructure's all jacked up. So, and it's got this massive population. Obviously, everyone knows like India is just completely overpopulated in areas. So she had met her future husband there. Now, again, I don't know all these details, and that's okay. But they fell in love, but her family um, for whatever reason, was a richer noble family. There's still very much a caste system in India, still, like to this day. Um, so when people are upset about, um, I thought I had one more turn. Okay, well let's just chill here, I guess, because I'm gonna have to build up this. Yeah, this army's kind of screwed too. So, um, there's very much a caste system. There was slavery, like legit state enforced slavery until like the late 70s or something in India. So, um, yeah, when people talk about the hardships of America, I think they're a little crazy. So, so they fell in love. Her family was noble-ish, and the religious differences caused this extreme animosity among her family members and even his family members, to the point where they felt they had to like run from India actively. Like they became, they had to seek asylum basically for his protection, because she felt that her family members were going to kill him. I guess I don't know if it's an honor killing. I don't know. Um, the struggles there, but they talked about they had to leave. So, and they wanted to go to America. They had to do it quick. Otherwise, yeah, there were some issues with his family potentially. Wait a sec. Did I kick the right guy? Kazrak One Eye. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, how fascinating is that, right? Like, just utterly unbelievable. So, so yeah, her family basically. Oh, I kind of want more Minotaurs here. So yeah, he had to leave, or her family was basically gonna try to end him. So, oh, I didn't even catch that. Oh, I think I'm gonna. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, stupid Franz. So, her family decides, okay, well, she needs to leave. And I don't know where she got the money from or whatever, but they decided that they had to get out of India. So they paid some human smugglers, essentially, $50,000 to get them to America, hopefully safely. Well, this all kind of turns into like a massive shit show. So, so she comes to America, and, or I'm sorry, they both leave to travel to Mexico, and like, oh my god, so I guess they spent about, I think she said about 6 months in Mexico apart. Like, once they got there, they were pulled away from each other. At that point, yeah, at that point they didn't know what was gonna happen. Like, I mean, now it was like, yeah, who knows? Like, this is like, I mean, she said it was one of the most horrifying experiences. They didn't speak the language, obviously, so they couldn't really communicate with anyone. Here they are, pulled apart. She said she spent like 6 months in a dog cage. Didn't even know where she was. So now, I mean, can you imagine how absolutely horrifying this is? I didn't ask the question, but I mean, there was a report that like 80% of women who cross the border are sexually assaulted at some point. I mean, can't. I mean, I don't know, right? So absolutely horrifying. Now, at this same time, her husband tells me that um, he was basically like, attacked and lucky to be alive. And at one point, so he finally gets across the border. Now, the story goes that they he's in a truck, and they're like, okay, this is where you get out, and it's in the middle of nowhere, and he's panicking at this point, like, what do you mean middle of nowhere? I'm gonna die here. So he tries to like get back into the truck. A dude starts shooting at him, and I mean, like, horrifying. And so I guess he finally, like, he gets away from the truck, because I mean they're fucking shooting at him. And so he's like, I guess I need to raid my way across, but I need, let's see, 25% to adopt. So let's get over here and get into this. So he's like, panicked out. He's been shot at. He's in the middle of nowhere. So eventually now, ICE ends up showing up and arresting him, which he was like, thank God. Like, so, he got food and all this other kind of stuff. And yes, once you're arrested in America, you're in America. Like, you made it. Yay! So, he was like, they tell you, I guess, what to say, so that after you're arrested, you're able to continue on and stay there and not be deported immediately. And that was all he could do. So here they are. He finally gets across. He's arrested, and then she eventually gets over the border. That part's missing. I heard this story years ago. So she eventually gets across, and oh man, what happened there? How did that? Yeah, I don't. I apologize. I don't know how she ended up getting there, but she gets across, and the two of them finally, like, after, I guess it was like a year, finally meet up again. And they finally get in touch with one another. They end up where they end up. And I'm just keeping things anonymous, obviously. But see, he starts working because he's got to, pay the bills, and he's got to get money. So here's the scheme. So immigrants will cross the border. They want to work in some cases. I mean, it's anecdotes, I guess. This is like a true anecdote. So they want to work. So he does, at least. And so the skulls for the skull throne. Yeah. So he wants to work. So he basically he gets a job, and the whole goal was to get like on a payroll. So in order to get on a payroll, you have to have a social security number. So he gets a guy's social security number, and God, how long are these things gonna take? 5 rounds, man. So these guys, so So he gets a social security number. That guy then is able to reap the rewards of having additional income onto his social security, which means a bigger payout at the end of the year. And that's kind of like the payoff for doing this. And so it's this big scam. I think that's why, if you ever run across Mexican contractors, which I've done actually a whole bunch of times in my life for various reasons, there's always one guy that drives a massive truck or van, usually newer. I mean, it's fascinating. And he's got, a couple, 3 or 4 dudes that work with him. And he always, he speaks English. He's the translator. He's the go-between. He's kind of the guy that runs the show. And you always think, well, he's just the boss. No, I'm pretty sure that he was the dude that came to America first, started the path to citizenship, or got a green card or a visa or whatever happened there legally. And these other dudes show up, use his social security number, put the pay that they're making or whatever contract work he's doing and they're getting, all goes to him, the tax money that is. He pays them, and you gotta remember, oh man, please be the all units. All right. So you gotta remember, when he's paid, they're paid, and they all want to work. They want to work for a whole bunch of reasons, but yeah, they want to work. They want to make some money, and they want to make some loot, because working for like one day in America is equal to working like a week in Mexico or more. Just the money you make. If you make, $100 here, it's like however long it would take you to make $500 or $1,000 in Mexico, right? So it's like the conversion rate, just the amount of money, and so that opportunity. I have met so many immigrants. Like in the line of work that I did, I worked with tons of immigrants. So, and the more I think about it, probably not all legal. I never really asked that question. But when I asked, why did you move here, or why did you come here, the reason is always opportunity. You came here for the opportunity. One guy said, he was from Uzbekistan, and he said he came here because the legal system wasn't corrupt. And I want to take a moment on that, because we all think our legal system and political system is corrupt, and there is a level of corruption, I'm sure. But we do have these laws that provide at least a boundary that is somewhat impassable. So, like he said, if you were pulled over by the police, you had to bribe them right then and there, or you're going to go to jail. He said some guy he knew was pulled over for some random infraction and hauled into jail, was told, or was convicted straight up, basically, for somebody else's murder, because that guy had paid, the guy who committed the crime had bribed and paid off enough people where that he could get out of it. So they had to find a replacement murderer. So he was thrown in jail, and his life was ruined just because he happened to be pulled over. He happened to be just happened to be there. And this is the kind of stuff that people don't, like, outside of outside of America don't realize that the rest of the world deals with. I mean, just stuff like this. It's absolute insanity. And um so that's an easy one. Knock this little town right out. So yeah, people do this kind of stuff. So oh yeah, don't mind if I do. So yeah, they came here, for the freedom of, well, religion. They came here because of the chance to get away from, a place where that kind of stuff isn't the norm. Um, it's kind of. I need to. Yeah, this is gonna have to be the next upgrade. It's some. Oh, these are separate population cycles. Okay. So. 8,000. So. For all the talk of, or all the railing against building the wall, if I spoke to this couple, if there had been a wall, they wouldn't have come that route. If it was thought to be, it is hard and probably scary to get across the border, but, if when he was arrested he was immediately removed, or we had the laws of every other nation practically on the planet as far as, if you're here illegally, what happens to you. And Western civilization is giving up their borders for some insane ideals, but most other countries, like, show up in Japan. Like, get yourself to Japan illegally and see what happens to you. Yeah, good luck with that. What is this, a Bray herd? Oh, this is a Bray herd thing. I've never had one. Oh, these dudes are gonna be awesome. Oh, now we start the friggin' warpath. So, okay. Yeah, so building this wall, like, people are, if we build this wall, we're gonna hurt people, and it's gonna break up families, and we're just gonna be evil people. But the idea that, like, they had to go through this. They had to suffer what, like, nobody should have to suffer. So if they had just come legally, I'm sure that she could have paid $50,000 to fly here, request asylum, or whatever. Get in that legal line. And I'd go so far as to say America can maybe improve or address or change or whatever their legal method of becoming a citizen. Like, I'm fine with that kind of idea. Like, okay, let's take this one step at a time. Let's improve the laws. Let's make it easier for people to start the process, perhaps. I don't know, but I still think, like, when you come to a country, part of that is coming here showing that, okay, you have some assets, you have some skills, you have some background, like we're able to verify who you are. The other country that you came from kept records. No, okay, you weren't arrested there. You don't have some criminal record. You're not part of a terrorist organization. You've held jobs there. You're whatever. Like, this is all possible information to get from other countries. Like, not all countries are completely backwards. Plus 3 for all unit recruits. I don't really need that. You when you come to a country, you have to make that country better. That's the whole goal of immigration. And it's so unfortunate that we have that stupid slogan: "We'll take your weak and your poor and your hungry." Bullshit. Like, we have enough of our own weak, poor, and hungry that and everyone comes here because of the opportunity. People are risking 6 months in a cage and being shot at just to get here. So you'd think there's a reason for it, and that reason is opportunity. That reason is freedom. People come here for freedom. So everything we should do should try to improve those things. And then, yeah, we should. I mean, if they had not crossed that border, they wouldn't have potentially been murdered and I guess likely raped. So, yeah, I mean, people are talking about this caravan of immigrants. Well, I mean, I'll tell you, that's probably not a safe place for a woman to be, in a caravan of immigrants. And I guess it's disbanded now because Trump said he's going to send the military to the border, which is fantastic. But yeah, you need, like, these people need to improve their own countries. I mean, if America is so good, I mean, we're not that far away. Everyone can learn from us. Everyone can improve their status. We're not like holding people back from, you can't, you can't improve. Like, yeah, just like do it. Just change the laws in your country. It's not that hard. So I think it's like, people, when they're railing against this, like, they're not actually, and I think this is really the secret to the whole thing. They're not actually worried about human rights. They're not really worried about the safety of people. They're worried about their political background, and yeah, Republicans want to keep immigrants out because they're not helping our society. They're not really improving it in a lot of cases, especially if they're here illegally. They didn't go the right path. And they're less likely to vote for the left. And then these people that are coming to America, who are here illegally, in the shadows, essentially, which, I mean, there's everywhere from 10 million to 30 million. And that's why the Democrats are trying to push for complete amnesty, because that's the only thing they have left to give. They can give American citizenship, then these people will inevitably vote for the left because they're the ones that gave them freedom. And you can't even really, that's a fairly good argument. So these people are going to vote for the left, which is going to improve the left's power, which then they're going to demand that more immigrants are allowed in, more immigrants come into America, which, that's all well and good from an emotional standpoint, but more immigrants come in, there's costs associated with that. They're going to take lower wages for jobs, which is going to displace lower wage workers in general. If they were coming here and they could prove that they had some sort of background that helped America, then you would see that improvement. But unfortunately, they're not sending their best. So there was a statistic that came out that 50%, I think it's 50%, 30, somewhere 30 to 50% of all inmates are illegal immigrants. I mean, that's staggering. I mean, and whether they're there because they were caught because they were illegal or had committed a crime, I mean, we can look into that, but that's staggering. So our prison system is flooded with illegal immigrants. The drugs and the prostitution and the general degradation of society that is flowing in from that southern border. I mean, these two people now have done really good things, and I'm glad to have met them. They're great people now. They're really improving their lives and doing some really good things, and now they're working towards citizenship. But they are the exception. Like their story isn't. I mean, their story is kind of probably the exception as far as coming from India, perhaps, but they are not. They aren't typical, unfortunately. So, and their story is horrifying and what they had to go through. So, if we had a wall up and they weren't allowed to go that way, they might have prevented a year of just horrifying experience, and they might have just had to deal with a little more paperwork to get to the same place they are now. So, I don't know. That's food for thought. I guess I'll leave you with I think America is an awesome place. I think we do a really good job trying to help the world, but I don't think it's too much to ask for people to follow the laws when they get here. So, all right, thanks. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.